When dating younger ladies, be open to everyone. Older men are not all made equal. Some people are really attractive because they radiate confidence and self assurance, while others unintentionally harm themselves by developing bad habits that make them appear desperate, out of touch, or insecure. The truth is that age is not the issue. An older man who tries too hard, lacks self awareness, or refuses to change is what turns women off, not older men who try too hard. The worst part is that most men aren't even conscious they're developing these habits. In today's video, we're dissecting 7 crucial habits that instantly turn an older man off to younger women. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to avoid and, more crucially, what to do instead to naturally command attention and interest. So if you're serious about meeting younger, high-quality women, you can't afford to miss this chat. Let's begin. The distinction between an older man who is handsome and one who is not. In the dating scene, older men can be divided into 2 categories: those that attract younger women with ease, and those who turn them off without even recognizing the difference in appearance, energy, and self awareness. The gorgeous older man represents maturity rather than chasing youth. He allows a younger lady to enter his life because he is self assured, self centered, and grounded in his own experiences. He is already entire, has a clear purpose, and an unwavering sense of self. Because it provides something, this presence is alluring. Younger males. The second tendency is being condescending or superior, which frequently betrays a lack of depth, knowledge, and emotional stability. In contrast, the ugly older man makes an excessive effort to keep up with the younger set. He imitates their vocabulary, follows their fashions, and pushes himself into places where he doesn't belong. Rather from projecting confidence, he looks for approval by pretending to be younger. But this strategy backfires. When a man attempts to be someone he is not, he loses the calm strength that makes him genuinely appealing and instead generates secondhand embarrassment. An older man's age does not turn off younger women. Women can tell when a man is acting inauthentically. They are forced to deny it by his desperation. A man who accepts his adulthood and owns his years rather than avoiding them is much more appealing than one who clings to an outdated identity. Attraction starts with genuineness. A man who exudes calm confidence and lets his presence speak for itself rather than trying to impress attracts attention wherever he goes. Since younger women are drawn to energy and excitement, many older men mistakenly assume that youth habit number 3, talking excessively about past experiences, is the only thing causing their attraction. However, attraction comes from embodying a level of confidence and presence that younger men have not yet developed, not from pretending to be younger. When a younger woman loses interest quickly, it's usually because the man has unintentionally made one of the common mistakes that signal insecurity. Perhaps he seeks too much reassurance, constantly asking if she is still interested, or perhaps he changes his personality to match hers, abandoning his identity to be what he thinks she wants. Or perhaps he puts her on a pedestal, acting as though she is doing him a favor by spending time with him. A man who understands this does not feel the need to prove himself. He doesn't chase, he doesn't overcompensate, and he doesn't beg for attention. None of these actions are attractive. The most attractive older men realize that they don't need to compete with younger men or chase youth. Instead, they embrace what makes them unique: maturity, confidence, and a life well lived. They don't need to prove their worth by engaging in habit number 4, which is being overly eager or needy, because they already know it, and they are confident that their quiet strength makes them truly irresistible. Now, let's move on to the 7 habits that make girls leave you quickly. No one is drawn to a man who sees himself as a victim of forces beyond his control. Instead, women want a man who understands them and navigates the modern dating landscape with confidence rather than frustration. A man who constantly complains about how things used to be better, obsesses over how things used to be better, and blames social media or feminism for his romantic struggles is not the type of man that women find attractive. He may think he sounds wise and perceptive, but to women, he comes across as bitter and helpless. When a man constantly laments the changes in dating, he exposes more about himself than he understands. He is not demonstrating his intelligence or awareness, but rather his incapacity to follow habit number 5, which ignores physical fitness. When a woman hears these grievances, she doesn't believe he's correct. Dating is awful because she believes this man is mired in the past and incapable of moving on. Attraction is really about movement. Women are drawn to men who embrace the world rather than those who long for a past that does not exist. A man who obsesses over things outside of himself. Gender roles are being altered by the rise of dating apps. Because of social media, a man has lost control and views dating as something that happens to him rather than something he actively engages in. Rather than improving himself and refining his strategy to understand how women react to him, he focuses on the things he cannot control and would sooner place the blame on an impersonal idea than accept accountability for his outcomes. Contrast this with a man who embraces the modern dating scene for what it is, doesn't waste time complaining about how women have changed, learns what they respond to, and adjusts accordingly. He doesn't see social media as an enemy, understands how it affects attraction, and uses it to his advantage, doesn't resist reality. Instead, he masters it. This is the type of man who stands out while others are caught in a vicious cycle of frustration. He is the one who succeeds habit number 6. Talking down about contemporary society is a vital principle at the heart of this transition, not because he manipulates or deceives, but rather because he operates from a place of self-awareness and control. Focus only on what you can control. You cannot control the past, how dating used to be, or how women have changed in response to cultural shifts. However, you can control how you react to these changes. You can either embrace reality and thrive in it, or resist, maintained their attractiveness well into old age. Sean Connery was a sex icon in his 60s, but he never pretended to be 25. He didn't follow trends. Instead, he embodied timeless masculinity. The secret that most men don't realize is that women are more interested in a man's presence than in his age or youth. When a man stops trying to fit in with a younger man's world and instead fully owns his identity, he changes the dynamic. He is no longer looking for approval. Instead, he is providing a rare sense of certainty that comes from knowing who he is, and that is what makes him irresistible for acting like you know everything. Unquestionably attractive is a man who speaks with conviction, exudes confidence, and is receptive to different viewpoints. However, the instant that confidence is replaced by a strict need to be right, something changes so that the conversation no longer feels like an exchange, but rather like a lecture. Instead of being involved, she feels like a student in his classroom. She may smile politely and disagree, but on the inside, she withdraws. Women prefer guys who value their opinions and respect their brains rather than ones who constantly reprimand them. Disagreement. Knowing something is not the same as needing other people to know it. When a man acts as though he knows everything, he unintentionally creates a wall between himself and the woman in front of him. Instead of inviting her into a conversation, he forces her to be an observer. And when she feels unheard, he uses her words as opportunities for him to demonstrate his expertise. A truly confident man is not pushed to prove himself in every conversation. He does not dominate discussions with facts and figures or interrupt to showcase his superior knowledge. He understands that the goal of a conversation, especially with a woman, is to connect, not to win. Attraction wanes. Imagine two men on a date. The first man jumps in to correct her as soon as he hears her opinion on a topic. He lays out the facts, explains why she is wrong, and speaks as if he is educating her. He thinks he is impressing her and demonstrating his intelligence, but he fails to notice how she quietly withdraws and how her excitement wanes. Now imagine the second man listening to her thoughts. He doesn't interrupt or rush to prove his knowledge if he disagrees. Instead, he engages with her out of genuine curiosity. He asks questions, explores her perspective, and lets the conversation flow naturally. A woman wants a partner, not a professor. She wants someone to share her experiences with, someone who respects her thoughts as much as he respects his own. The irony is that the men who need to prove their intelligence the most are frequently the least secure. Accurate intelligence does not require recognition. It speaks for itself. The man who understands this does not try to impress through dominance. Instead, he impresses through presence, listens, engages, and, most importantly, makes her feel as though her thoughts are important because, in the end, attraction is not about who knows more, but rather about who treats her like a child. Nothing depletes attraction more quickly than a man who acts more like a teacher than an equal. If a man responds with condescension, even inadvertently, it creates a subtle but powerful discon. A woman may not immediately understand why she feels less drawn to him, but she will feel it. For example, when she tells a man about a book she recently discovered, a fascinating concept, or a new skill she is learning, the wrong response sounds like, "Oh, that's cute, you're just figuring that out." When a woman shares something she is excited about, she is not looking for a lesson, but engagement, not a lesson. Or, you don't really understand it yet. Despite his seeming playfulness or helpfulness, she is ignored. Rather than inspiring her, he minimizes her and gradually stifles the discourse. A woman is drawn to a man who listens, engages, and encourages rather than corrects. He does not need to prove his intelligence by making her feel ignorant. Instead, he inspires by sharing ideas that invite conversation rather than shutting it down. If she expresses excitement about something he already knows, the right approach is not to diminish her enthusiasm, but to build on it. He can say, "That's a great insight. What made you interested in that?" Or, "Yeah, I love that concept. Have you explored this aspect of it?" These exchanges keep the energy flowing and make her feel like she is a part of an exchange rather than being lectured. Women don't need teachers. They need men who inspire, engage, and respect their intelligence. A man who truly understands attraction will always hold her attention because he understands that connection is formed through shared experiences rather than one-sided explanations. He values her excitement and sees it as an opportunity to strengthen the bond rather than a moment to correct her. Interested in that? Or, "Yeah, I love that concept. Have you explored this aspect of it?" These exchanges keep the energy flowing and make her feel like she is a part of an exchange rather than being lectured. Women don't need teachers. They need men who inspire, engage, and respect their intelligence. A man who truly understands attraction will always hold her attention because he understands that connection is formed through shared experiences rather than one-sided explanations. He values her excitement and sees it as an opportunity to strengthen the bond rather than a moment to correct her. Six, dressing like you've given up on life attraction starts long before words are spoken. It is instinctive, nonverbal, and deeply ingrained in a man's mannerisms. Women observe everything a man does, including his posture, grooming, and how confident his stride is. They may not be aware of these details, but they sense them. I no longer care when a man dresses as though he has given up on himself, so why should she care if he doesn't? Many men believe that their status or personality intelligence will make up for a messy appearance. They think that after they reach a certain point in life, they no longer need to maintain their image. They confuse comfort with confidence, thinking that wearing whatever is convenient indicates security, but in reality, it signals complacency. When a man stops trying to look good, he has stopped striving, and nothing is less attractive than a man who no longer strives for more. Men who exhibit self respect are more attractive to women, and their effortless sophistication, such as that of George Clooney Idrisila or Pierce Brosnan, is one of the most accurate indicators of how they see themselves. These men know that style is not about following trends, but about presence. Their clothes are never loud or desperate for attention, but always intentional. A well-fitting suit, polished shoes, and a clean classic haircut not only make a man look good, but they also influence how other people see him, and more importantly, how he views himself. When a man enters a room looking sharp, he doesn't just command attention, he owns it. His posture changes, his energy shifts, his movements, and his speech change, and all of a sudden, attraction is something he naturally attracts rather than something he has to seek. Dressing well is not about impressing women, it's about being the best version of oneself. Women want a man who is validated, not one who cries for it. This starts with the way he conducts himself, which includes being overly controlling and possessive. Attraction lives on freedom. When a man exhibits excessive possessiveness and control, he smothers the very spark that initially drew her to him. Women are drawn to strength, confidence, and security, but when a man's behavior shifts toward excessive control, it signals something far less attractive in security. He may think he is showing care and protecting the relationship by keeping tabs on her, questioning her choices, or subtly restricting her independence. In reality, he is broadcasting his fear that if she has too much freedom, she will realize she no longer wants him, and that fear more than anything is what drives her away. At first, possessiveness can be mistaken for affection. A woman might find it sweet when a man asks her to text when she gets home, or when he casually inquires about who she spends time with. But over time, these gestures escalate. The simple check-ins turn into demands. The innocent questions become interrogations. Why didn't you answer my call immediately? Who were you with? I don't trust your friends yet. A time he tightens his grip. She feels her independence slipping away, and with it her attraction to him. What once felt like interest now feels like control. What once felt like love now feels like suffocation. She becomes more resentful of him the more he attempts to manipulate her. Women, especially young women, prefer to choose a man rather than feel like they are being treated like property. When they feel trapped, they instinctively seek out a physical or emotional escape, and ironically, the thing he feared most, losing her, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of wasting energy trying to control her, a man who truly understands attraction knows that control is an illusion. He cannot make a woman stay, demand her loyalty, or manipulate her into loving him more. Instead, he can trust his worth and build a fulfilling life without worrying about her whereabouts or activities. Knowing that genuine attraction arises from choice rather than force, he maintains his sense of value. When a woman is free to be with a man and knows that she is not being held there by fear, pressure, or obligation, but by genuine desire, he stops trying to hold on so tightly because he finally realizes the truth. If she truly wants to be with him, she will stay, and if she doesn't, no amount of control will ever change that conclusion. The most meaningful relationships are not built on control, but on trust. True attraction comes from accepting who you are, owning your experience, and moving through the world with confidence, presence, and self awareness. A man in his 40s, 50s, or even 60s can be just as attractive as, if not more so than, his younger counterparts. The secret is not in chasing youth, overcompensating with wealth, or controlling a woman's choices. Women are drawn to men who exude strength through quiet confidence and unwavering self respect, rather than through force or arrogance. The most attractive older men are those who lead without controlling, creating an atmosphere where a woman wants to stay rather than feel trapped, who inspire without lecturing, who value her thoughts and experiences instead of constantly trying to teach hurt, and who stay grounded in who they are. When a man realizes this, he stops making the critical mistakes that drive younger women away and instead becomes a man who naturally attracts others. The best part is that this mental shift not only improves his dating life, but also transforms every aspect of his life, from professional success to personal fulfillment. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed these patterns in older men or even in yourself? What lessons have you learned about attraction, confidence, and self growth? If you find this video useful, please hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe. There is a lot more to learn about relationships. Please share your opinions in the comments section below so we can continue this topic. Self control and attraction psychology. I'll see you in the